My name is Ryanne Pilgram. My address is 102 South Howard Street in Moscow. All right. So first, I'd like to thank each of you for hearing my appeal. I appreciate your service in our community and your time this evening. I'm appealing as an affected person living within a half mile of the proposed college. My appeal addresses issues related specifically to parking and, by extension, then criteria 7, the cumulative impact regarding parking. Tonight, I will briefly outline the 4 primary reasons I believe the conditional use permit should be remanded to the Board of Adjustment. Full details regarding each argument are outlined in the letter I submitted. First, the board did not have sufficient data. As noted at the April 25th hearing, staff provided parking data obtained at 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. over a 5-day period. Commissioners expressed the desire to also have had midday parking. I agree with the commissioners. The data should have included other critical windows of time, including the lunch hour, school and daycare drop-off hours, and the evening rush hour, and contend that insufficient information prevented the board from accurately assessing the current parking demands downtown. Second, other data were incorrect. At the board meeting, NSA claimed that the percentage of the central business district dedicated to educational use was 3.4%. However, that number does not include the square footage of existing New St. Andrews parking lot at 6th and Jackson, rendering the figure presented for approval to the board incorrect. The board should reconsider the conditional use permit with correct data that accurately represents the existing percentage of central business district dedicated to educational purposes, and then allow those data to inform any predictions for future use. Third, the meeting minutes note that the staff compared the potential parking needs for the proposed college to 3 things: its prior use as a dance hall and bar, its approved residential conversion that was not carried out, and the parking requirements for a mixture of retail and office space use. This comparison is misleading. People who go to bars and dance halls drive at night, if they drive at all, and they park accordingly. Downtown residents don't require parking accommodations, and even if they did, the small number of units in the building would mean a relatively small impact on parking. And finally, the parking requirements for a mixture of retail and office space are explicitly in line with the comprehensive plan. In all cases, parking requirements for these groups are different than parking requirements for an educational institution, and comparing them is misleading. For an accurate assessment, the board must consider the current parking impact of other schools in the central business district. Board of Adjustment member Jerry Long asked if data existed on current NSA parking impacts because this proposal would double those effects. But the city staff didn't have that data. Comparing dissimilar, inaccurate information while lacking similar, accurate data prevented the board from making a fully informed decision. The 4th and final reason for my appeal is the Board of Adjustment's calculations for mitigating the parking impacts. I believe they should be reconsidered. The board approved the conditional use permit under the following conditions. The NSA provide 47 off-street parking spaces within a half mile of the proposed college, with that number phased in over 5 years depending on enrollment. For context, that means NSA will only need to provide 23.5 parking spots for up to 194 people for 5 years. In addition, parking in any dedicated New St. Andrews lot cannot be mandated for students, and students will likely choose the closest spot to their destination in the central business district. The decision to approve this the conditional use permit is one of considerable magnitude and should be considered with access to full information. In closing, the proposal did not satisfy criterion 7, quote, that the proposed use will not be in conflict with the comprehensive plan. When asked about the college's plan to find parking for students, NSA President Ben Merkel responded, quote, some of it would be accommodated in the existing lot and that they were negotiating other locations that weren't appropriate to divulge at this time. Without knowing where that parking would be, the board, by definition, cannot know the cumulative impact on the central business district. The board has made many thoughtful deliberations, and I appreciate their service, but they deliberated on insufficient and incorrect information. The proposals written did not satisfy criterion 4 regarding parking, and therefore, by definition, cannot satisfy criterion 7, the cumulative impact. I request a remand to the Board of Adjustment because having full and accurate information when making these kind of decisions is in the best interest of the public. Thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms.